Welcome to Creepy, the best horror storyteller on YouTube.
Part 1. The Haunting Begins.
In a quiet town nestled between thick woods lived a young woman named Evelyn Sinclair. Evelyn was an artist with a penchant for the eerie and the mysterious. She resided in a quaint cottage on the outskirts of the town, surrounded by towering trees that whispered secrets in the wind. Evelyn, with her long ebony hair and piercing green eyes, had always been intrigued by the supernatural. She filled her home with peculiar artifacts and curious trinkets she collected from flea markets and antique shops. Her fascination with the unknown often led her to stay awake late into the night, painting haunting scenes that danced between reality and nightmares. Little did she know that her obsession with the enigmatic would draw the attention of something far more sinister than she could ever imagine. One fateful evening, as the moon hung low in the sky, Evelyn retired to her bed, exhausted from a day spent lost in her art. As sleep began to envelop her, an inexplicable sense of dread washed over her, sending shivers down her spine. In the depths of the night, she awoke with a start, her body frozen in place. Panic coursed through her veins as she realized she couldn't move a muscle, trapped in the grip of sleep paralysis. Her breaths came in shallow gasps, and she strained to make even the slightest sound, but her voice betrayed her. That's when she saw it, a shadowy figure lurking at the edge of her vision, its form twisted and contorted. It exuded an aura of malevolence that permeated the room, suffocating Evelyn with its presence. The creature, with eyes that gleamed like burning coals, advanced slowly, inch by agonizing inch, towards Evelyn's immobilized body. She tried to scream, to plead for help, but her voice remained imprisoned in her throat. The entity drew closer, its inky tendrils reaching out to brush against her skin, sending icy tendrils of terror down her spine. As it loomed over her, a wave of sheer terror washed over Evelyn, engulfing her in a maelstrom of fear and helplessness. But then something unexpected happened. The shadowy figure seemed to hesitate, as if it sensed more than just Evelyn's fear. It leaned closer, its piercing gaze fixated on her, and a chilling realization struck her. It wasn't just any malevolent entity haunting her, it was something more sinister, something that seemed to probe the depths of her mind, as if it knew her deepest, darkest secrets. Evelyn's thoughts raced as she struggled against the invisible restraints, desperate to break free from this nightmarish encounter. She could feel the entity's presence delving into her mind, rifling through her memories and fears, preying on her vulnerabilities. In a moment of sheer willpower, she managed to wrench herself from the paralysis, gasping for air as she jolted upright in bed. The room was empty, devoid of the sinister apparition that had tormented her just moments before. Trembling and drenched in cold sweat, Evelyn realized that this was just the beginning, a foreboding prelude to a haunting that seemed intimately acquainted with her innermost secrets. She was left to grapple with the terrifying truth that whatever had visited her in the dead of night was not done with her yet. Unbeknownst to her, a dark force had marked her, weaving itself into the fabric of her existence, setting the stage for a chilling confrontation that would plunge her into a nightmarish descent where reality and the macabre would collide. As the first light of dawn pierced the horizon, Evelyn knew that she was entangled in a sinister game, and the malevolent entity lurking in the shadows held the threads of her fate in its grasp. And so, the haunting had begun, casting an ominous shadow over Evelyn Sinclair's life, with darker horrors waiting to unveil themselves in the looming nights ahead.
Part 2. The Sinister Unveiling.
In the days that followed the nightmarish encounter, Evelyn found herself ensnared in a web of anxiety and paranoia. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of a shadow, sent shivers down her spine, reminding her of the sinister presence that had invaded her life. Sleep became an elusive luxury as she dreaded the inevitable return of the malevolent entity. She tried to rationalize the experience, dismissing it as a mere nightmare, a product of an overactive imagination. But deep down, she knew it was more than that. It was real, and it was lurking, biding its time. Desperate for answers, Evelyn delved into ancient texts and occult lore, seeking any semblance of understanding about the entity that had haunted her. Yet, the more she searched, the more she realized the true horror of her situation. The entity wasn't just a random apparition, but a sleep paralysis demon, a malevolent being that fed on fear and thrived on tormenting its victims. As dusk descended, casting long, ominous shadows across her cottage, Evelyn's apprehension grew palpable. She dared not close her eyes, fearing the return of the nightmarish entity that knew her deepest secrets. Night after night, she fought against the suffocating grip of sleep, determined to evade the clutches of the paralysis demon. But fatigue gnawed at her, wearing down her resolve with each passing moment. One fateful night, exhausted and vulnerable, Evelyn succumbed to slumber's embrace, despite her fervent resistance. The room plunged into an eerie silence, broken only by the erratic rhythm of her anxious breaths. As the veil of sleep enveloped her, she found herself once again trapped in the suffocating grip of sleep paralysis. Dread pooled in the pit of her stomach as she sensed the malevolent presence slithering into her room, its sinister aura suffusing the air. The shadows seemed to elongate, dancing macabrely across the walls as the entity emerged, its form contorted and indistinct. Evelyn's heart raced as she grappled with the paralysis, her mind screaming for release from this nightmarish prison. The entity drew closer, its eyes blazing like fiery embers in the darkness. It hovered above her, a specter of malevolence that seemed to leer into her soul, penetrating the depths of her being with a chilling intensity. But this time, Evelyn summoned every ounce of her courage, refusing to succumb to the paralyzing fear that gripped her. With sheer determination, she willed her body to move, to break free from the invisible shackles that held her captive. A surge of defiance surged through her, and inch by agonizing inch, she fought against the invisible restraints. Her fingers twitched, her muscles strained, until finally she managed to break the hold of paralysis, gasping for breath as she sat up in bed. The room was cloaked in an eerie stillness, devoid of the malevolent entity that had haunted her. Evelyn's chest heaved with exertion, her skin drenched in a cold sweat. She realized that she had narrowly escaped the clutches of the sleep paralysis demon once more. But as she gathered her trembling thoughts, a chilling revelation struck her. A piece of parchment lay on her bedside table, a faint outline of crimson writing etched upon it. Trembling, Evelyn picked up the parchment, her hands quivering as she read the ominous message scrawled upon it. "I know your secrets, Evelyn Sinclair. No hiding place is safe from me." Dread coiled in the pit of her stomach as she realized the true horror of her predicament. The demon that plagued her not only tormented her in the realm of sleep, but lurked within the waking world, aware of her deepest fears and darkest truths. With trembling hands, she tried to burn the parchment, but the words refused to fade, mocking her attempts to rid herself of the malevolent presence that had entrenched itself in her life. Evelyn was now caught in a nightmarish battle against an entity that not only haunted her dreams, but had seeped into her reality, wielding her secrets like a twisted weapon. The realization dawned upon her that she was no longer safe, and the malevolent force lurking in the shadows would stop at nothing until it had consumed her entirely. As the moon cast an ominous glow upon her cottage, Evelyn realized that her relentless pursuit of the enigmatic had led her into a dark and harrowing abyss, one where the line between dreams and reality blurred, and the sinister truth lay shrouded in the depths of her own subconscious. With the haunting reaching its terrifying zenith, Evelyn stood on the precipice of a chilling revelation, her life entwined with forces beyond comprehension, and the sinister entity that knew her secrets poised to unleash unfathomable horrors upon her fragile existence.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more similar horror stories.